All right, all right, all right. Well, welcome everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm super excited. If you've never met me before, I'll give a little bit of my background. I'm actually going to share a lot of my story as I go through this talk. Today, we're focusing on how to pivot in this new normal. And that's been kind of a common word this year. You know, maybe you've had some changes going on because of what's happened here in 2020. And so today, my hope is that you will come away with a nugget, some kind of inspiration, some kind of maybe new idea in being able to apply that to help you be inspired and even more equipped. I don't know where you've been, I don't know where you're going, I don't know where you're at today, but I always want to give some kind of message of hope and encouragement, and maybe you can take action. If you have a specific goal in mind as to why you're here, please put it in the chat right now. I will take a quick look at those. I really want to play to my audience, as I always like to say, and want to know what you'd like to get out of or create in this next 30 to 45 minutes, because to think is to create, as you guys have probably heard from Napoleon Hill. And I will give some time at the end to answer questions and have a conversation. That's what I love about these smaller, intimate groups. So 2 outcomes today is how will you take action on this information? And of course, at the end, I'm going to share with you how, if you or someone you know or care about could benefit from working with me, how people can work with me past today in an ongoing way. So first and foremost, you know, I like to always look ahead. I am a 12-week year certified trainer. If you've ever read that book, I always think in 12-week chunks, or a lot of times people will call it quarters. Well, we are in the home stretch of 2020. We are in Q4, if you go by that methodology. And I'd love to know if anybody wants to put in the chat, again, positive, supportive environment. If you want to put in the chat how 2020 has gone for you, or maybe hasn't gone for you. I always love to learn from other people. And yeah, absolutely. If you want to put your contact information in the chat and be able to connect with one another, I'm always about networking. And also, if you can join my Facebook community, I can share that with you guys at the end when we go through the Q&A.
Lois,
so my goal,
Lois, did you want to put this in presentation mode or
oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. I thought I hit it, but it didn't do it. So thank you for that. So really quickly, for those of you who don't know my background, I have definitely been through a lot in my journey. In my 20s, I started out in real estate. I call myself a sales success coach now. And actually that began right away when I was 22. I started in real estate. I had a mentor and I hired a coach, and I started to learn how to generate leads, how to prospect, how to develop more sales in less time. I was also a marathon runner, Boston marathoner. It was all about efficiency and being my best version of myself. And I thought I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30, right? I thought all of the things. I was pretty, you know, big dreamer. And when the recession happened in 2006, I had 3 real estate related companies. So you can about imagine, and I was living in the Southwest, Phoenix, Arizona at the time, and it hit me hard. I didn't see it coming. I had people who were in the industry for 3+ decades who also didn't see it coming, and we all kind of felt like we got caught with our pants down. And I ended up going from multiple 6 figures, building my dream, you know, $1 million home, to being homeless and having my car repossessed the day before my 30th birthday. And so I can honestly say now it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it was a great wake-up call for a variety of reasons. Number one, I had to become solution-oriented. Number two, I actually also lost my health. I was severely depressed, chronic fatigue, had a lot of inflammation, and the recession actually helped me wake up to that. And I had to start all over, clean slate from scratch. And it actually prepared me for what happened this year. I got to learn how to work from home. I started a family. I sold virtually 100% of the time out of my house. And I was like the Phoenix rising from the ashes. And I learned, you know what, I need to be recession proof. I hired coaches and mentors who had been through recessions and came out and became millionaires. I was able to fall kind of back on my childhood. I grew up on a farm. Don't know if anybody else here grew up on a farm, but it really helped me remind that there's seasons of life and things happen, but every day is a new day, and you keep planting seeds, you keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I became, actually, it took me about 6+ years after that to really fully recover, because there's so much to learn and get healthy again. And that's actually why my podcast is called Healthy and Wealthy and Wise, is because for me, those are the three things that I believe is kind of like my trinity of taking care of myself and being my highest and best version of myself. So when this happened in 2020, the beginning of the year, I was ready and super grateful and humbled that I could help people become ready, if they weren't already ready, how to pivot. You know, we are headed into a potential 2 to 3 year recession. And again, I don't fall prey to any kind of propaganda or fear or anything like that anymore, because I already been there, done that. But there are a lot of things that I've learned that I'm going to share with you today that could also help you or someone you know who may be hurting, because I want to give them and you a message of hope that if I can do it, you can do it. And one of my favorite movies that I watched back in 2007, 2008, and I've actually probably watched this 40 times or more since, is Shawshank Redemption. And knowing that no matter where you've been, no matter what has happened, and I don't believe things happen to you anymore, they happen for you, is what can you learn from this experience? What can you take away? What can you do to build resilience and overcome these crazy times that we're living in? Because there's a lot of people going through trauma. I personally had 2 really close deaths in my family this year, which is very traumatic for me. And again, I was able to build resilience through that last recession. So that's something that I think a lot of people can really glean and take from this year. And remember, hope is the best of things to keep you, keep me, keep us all moving forward. And I don't want to give away this movie, but if you've seen it, you know the outcome. But Andy Dufresne was wrongly imprisoned for 19 years for 2 crimes he did not commit. He was given double life sentence. So imagine how he felt in that moment. There could be people in your life that are feeling that way right here, right now. And you can absolutely share this video with them when you get the recording, because a lot of what I'm sharing today is what I learned and what I feel like Andy Dufresne learned through that terrible traumatic experience himself. And part of what helped me grow and get out of that experience was reading the 12-week year. I actually read that after becoming a mom, after going through the last recession, and I had a lot of stinking thinking and things that were holding me back, and I got really scattered with my time. I had what I called shiny object syndrome. I started saying yes to everything that was around me. I would be more like what I call now a people pleaser, right? By saying yes to everybody else's needs, I was always putting mine on the back burner. And so I got pretty spread thin. And it took me a while to get out of that cycle. And when I read this book, I was reminded of when I was an Ironman triathlete as a peak performer. And this goes along a lot with what's going on in the world today, because you might find yourself a little scattered. You might find yourself saying yes to every Zoom opportunity. That's why I always say, thank you for taking your time to be here today, because you could be on 5 other Zooms that you probably could have been invited to, right? And so at the end of the day, I remembered when I was an Ironman triathlete, you know, I had a full-time career, I had a sales team, and I was training for an Ironman triathlon. If you know anything about that, it's 140.6 miles, a race of swimming, biking, and running. You start with a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a 26.2, just a little marathon to top it all off at the end. And I had to train seriously. So keep that in mind. I always had a full-time training schedule as an athlete. I was also a coach to other Ironman triathletes, and I had a sales team. I had a full-time career. So I had to figure out how to compartmentalize my life. And I did it really, really quite well. So I had forgotten about that when I lost everything in the recession. And when I came back, fast forward to reading this book about 5-6 years ago, I realized I had a lot of subconscious sabotage because of the recession. And I was holding myself back from being that high performing, peak performing person. And people now say, Lois, how do you get all of the things done that you do now? Because you're homeschooling, because you have, sales team, because you have clients and all of these things. Thankfully, it's because I read this book, and I'm going to share some of that with you today. Oops, that's not what I was expecting. Hold on one second. All right, so there we go. So there's 3 components of that book that go along with this first tip. I'm going to give you 5 tips today. So I want you to write those tips down as you go through, and we'll have a quick Q&A at the end. So accountability. How are you holding yourself accountable to your schedule right now, to your health, to your financial health, to your spiritual health, to all the things that I believe help fill your cup, keep you balanced amidst the chaos that's going on in the world. I know we talked about the fires at the beginning. We've got, political stuff going on in the world, global warming, whatever, there's all these things, right? But if you have someone or something, your family, your coaches, your mentors with you, keeping you accountable, anything is possible as we pivot through the chaos. And of course, commitment. Are you over committing? Or are you committed to just a few simple things, focused and committed, not just interested in all these different things? That's where I was for a while. I said yes to everything because I wasn't really fully committed in the moment and committed to my personal and professional goals. We're going to talk about that today. And then, of course, one of the third and final thing that I want to kind of fill your mindset with is just remembering, with everything that's going on, just taking a moment by moment, knowing and remembering that you have greatness inside of you, and keeping that moving forward along with your accountability and your commitment to yourself each and every day. The other part of the 12-week year that I coach and train on and goes right along with how to pivot is just remembering that your thinking and your actions are what's creating the results that you have. So I look back in my journey where I lost everything in the recession, and I could have blamed the recession, but it was actually my thoughts and my actions that brought me to those results. I had business partners that weren't really all that great. I had different actions where I was a little bit spread too thin at times, and then I would drop a few of the balls. And so I took responsibility in understanding my results even in that experience, and didn't go victim to my circumstances. So really coming from a place of consciousness, that's one of my passions, is to raise people's consciousness and help them understand that it's your thoughts that get you to where you are today. And trust me, I'm my own worst critic. I have been through that journey of perfectionism and beating myself up, like, why did I think that? Because I took that action and I'm not really happy with the result, right? Well, today I hope to help reframe that. And with one idea today, maybe you can have a different thought about something and take a different action and get an even better result. So step number 1, I've already started that with you guys, is how are you building your mindset daily and setting daily goals? There's weekly, there's monthly. I coach a lot on the 12-week year, so I wrote out my plan for the whole rest of the year and working on even the first quarter, but I have annual goals. But what do you do every single day? That compound effect, that's actually what matters the most. So do you wake up every morning and write down your goals? Do you wake up every morning and check in with your mindset? And what you do in the morning, the first couple hours of the day, of course, most of you know this, I'm sure, determines the rest of your day. Do you check your text messages right away? I highly encourage that if you can, don't do that. Make sure that you start your day with filling your mind with good, positive stuff. I even actually have a tool that I write down my goals. I have a sheet on my clipboard where I write down what I'm committed to that day and my measurable specific goals for just that day. I'm not worried about tomorrow. I've forgotten yesterday's, failures and things, but what am I really, again, that greatness in the moment, what am I going out and creating today? And then this is a tip for you guys, a great coaching tip that I got from one of my coaches is throughout the day, I carry my clipboard around with me and I do some reflection time in the middle of the day. I'll actually do that right after I get off this call and just kind of check in with how did my morning go? What can I do different, better, more or less, and what can I create for the rest of the day? Just how am I showing up right now? Because as you've probably heard from Think and Grow Rich and Louise Hay, she wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life. Thoughts are things, and you can change them even in the midst of your day. Especially if you didn't get your miracle morning in, your mindset, meditation, affirmations, whatever you use to help kind of get your day going. I have 3 alarms on my phone that go off, at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 o'clock, just kind of reminding myself, are you showing up with joy? Are you growing? Are you showing up with authenticity? Those are kind of a couple of my favorite words. You can pick your own words. I also have a mantra on one of the alarms, progress, not perfection. Just reminding myself as a recovering perfectionist, that's a real good mantra for me. Do you have a mantra that you have maybe set on your alarm, or maybe set as your background on your computer or on your fridge, something that you're going to walk by at different times of the day, and it's going to remind you that you're awesome, or remind you that, don't take things too seriously or personally. Life is short. You have greatness inside of you. Little things like that can really help you pivot and shift that consciousness super fast. Also thinking mindset wise, do you have a vision for the fourth quarter? Do you have a vision for 2021? Do you write that down every day? My coach actually has, and now I do this with my clients, is, do you write down your perfect day, your ideal vision for where you see yourself 3 years from now, or 2 years from now, or 1 year from now? That's actually what helped keep me going. I'm not going to lie, when I was going through my darkest hours, I had suicidal thoughts. I'm wondering, why am I here? And if I wasn't able to climb back out, if I didn't have that vision, I don't know where I'd be today. So that's the power of writing down, and actually handwriting it, that does more for your subconscious mind. Jim Rohn always said, things that get written down get done. I've manifested my move to California, which seemed impossible coming from Minnesota last year, because I had a vision and I wrote it down every day. I listened to it every day. I spoke it every day. Whatever you need to do to just really be passionate and go all out. Like Grant Cardone says, be obsessed about your vision. And of course, sharing it with your spouse, your business partners, your colleagues, and your clients, believe it or not, can be a huge way for you to attract in more abundance and more clients in your life. And I learned that especially through the recession. So writing or speaking down your vision daily, this is kind of summarizing this tip number 1. And one more important thing that I will tell you that's super important is having SMART goals. So like, I coach to really be laser beam focused, write down 2 personal goals a day, 2 professional, and make sure they're measurable, right? So like yesterday, I had a personal goal of getting my workout in 30 minutes. I did it, right? If I didn't have a specific set amount of time, I might have just blown it off and said, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. Or my professional goal, sign up 2 new clients. Well, guess what? I signed up 1 for sure, and I didn't even actually know this person was going to sign up yesterday. So I put it out there. It happened, and then I had another amazing client who didn't actually sign up yet, but because I had those numbers out there, it kept me going throughout the day until I had a really productive conversation. And I'm not beating myself up about falling short. It's just, I had a roadmap to my day, and I wasn't going to finish my day until I got super close to my goals. And having that measurable number helps you also realize, am I spending the right amount of time on the right amount of activities to get the result that I want? So specific, SMART stands for specific, measurable, Is it attainable? Is it something that you really believe that you can possibly do or create in that day or in that hour, in that week or that month? R is realistic, and T is for timeline. So you have to have a deadline. Like, is it that day? Is that your goal? Or is that week? Or is it that month? And then at the end of the week, the day, the month, you're measuring. You got to know your numbers to grow your numbers. If you don't have measurables, you can't really understand where you're going. When I was training triathletes and marathoners, we had a very strict training schedule. That's what I'm talking about, peak performance and knowing how to pivot. Also, you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And if you don't have numbers, you can't improve upon them or try to pinpoint what's going on or what's maybe not working in your business. So the next point, going on to step number 2, kind of transitioning, is what does it take to be and become great in these times? And it's still execution. Execution. There's a lot of people who set goals, but they don't follow through and take action. So part of what I teach and how working through this crazy time, what I learned from the recession, what I teach now and what I experience now that's actually helped me make more money this year than ever before is relationships. Taking action every day and learning and listening from other people, like what are their needs, what's going on in their life, and how can you fill that need with your product or service. I don't know what everybody does on this call, but I believe you're all business owners and salespeople and entrepreneurs. So by making not about you, right, but listening and reaching out and prospecting and connecting with people, you can form the relationship and earn people's business so much faster than just spamming or sending things out, sending private messages that have nothing to do with that other person. Listening first and forming. And form is actually an acronym that I learned way back in real estate. F stands for family. You know, asking questions is really what we do in sales. Asking questions is what we do as business owners. And I love asking, you know, how's your family? I just spoke with a gal this morning whose husband is really ill, you know, so that knowing that changed the conversation right away. And even though I had in the back of my mind, I wanted to, you know, see if she was ready to sign up for my next course, I just put her needs in first, because now that I know what's going on and I can make it about her, it's going to make the next conversation a welcome phone call. She'll pick up the phone and answer again because, you know, Lois isn't all about the sale. And that's important, even if, you know, maybe your sales are down, even if, you know, you don't know where you're going to, your next paycheck or how you're going to pay your next bill. It's always coming from a place of abundance and making it about that other person that makes all the difference, and it'll come back to you tenfold. And I'm speaking from experience, and I've seen that with my clients as well. The O, of course, how's work, your occupation. That's what the O stands for. Finding out where they're at, if they just lost their job, you know, that might change the tone of the conversation. R is recreation. That's my favorite one is, you know, what did you do this weekend? Or what are you going to do this upcoming weekend? Or finding out what people love, what are their hobbies, their interests, what do they love to do for fun? You never know when that might connect you to that person much bigger, much faster. And the M, of course, is what is their mission, their message in life. Also could be a D, forward or form, kind of go different ways in sales, but D is dreams. But I like the word form because it reminds you that all things in business and in sales, no matter what's going on, is about the relationship. When I was homeless, I mean, I was fortunate. I had friends that let me sleep on their floor, their futons, their spare bedrooms and things back in the Great Recession, because I was all about the relationship. And that's what saved me from literally being out on the street, right? So you never know when that comes back to you, and the kindness of others will come back to you because, again, you didn't make it about the sale, even amidst crazy times. But you can also ask for help. If your sales are down, if you have relationships, you could do joint ventures. You could do joint email campaigns. You could do Facebook Lives. I've been doing a lot of that. I even now have an affiliate program because I formed relationships first before making the sale. How many people are you connecting with online using the form technique and then getting them offline? I've seen this, one of the biggest mistakes people make all the time is they'll go back and forth and they'll chit chat with people and they never get them offline, like on a phone call or on a webinar or in their, even getting people on a Zoom, just a one-on-one, like a virtual coffee, and they don't know where to go with that person because they haven't truly connected face-to-face, voice-to-voice, or in some way, shape, or form got that person to opt in to maybe be a part of their email campaign, and they went back and forth too long and they lost that person's interest. You know, so getting them offline in some capacity is really the best next goal for you to get closer to that next sale, that next opportunity, and go deeper in the relationship. So set a goal, and this is all going back to the theme of the day of how to pivot, is how many contacts are you going to make a day that can get you closer to your goals. I always have a goal of talking to 5 people on the phone, 5 people on Facebook, and 5 people on LinkedIn. Those are my 3 areas that I specialize in. I love phone calls. I know that that isn't always possible nowadays because I got so much going on. I used to make 20 phone calls a day, but I've had to re-allot my time with my kids and being home and all that kind of stuff. But set a realistic goal, again, a measurable. That's why I said 5 phone calls, 5 Facebook connections, 5 LinkedIn conversations. And then, you know, how can I get them to be a part of my tribe, my audience? We're going to talk about that here right now. Another thing that had helped me pivot very quickly this year is I had already built a lot of online skills. So don't worry if you have it. The good news is, you know, you can never pivot too late. You can never not teach an old dog new tricks, right? Before this year, I had a YouTube channel going, so I had some content out there. I already had a leads database management system, but I didn't have an email campaign. I also didn't have a podcast. So even myself, autobiographically, just being transparent with you guys, I learned new skills this year that have now paid me multiple 5 figures just even in the last 90 days because I recognized, oh my gosh, everybody's online. I got to find ways to build a tribe, to build an audience, to build a following, since I can't collect business cards. I always was a face-to-face, belly-to-belly, go to networking events. I don't know if anybody here can relate, but I always had a goal. Even then, I'm going to collect 5 business cards. I'm going to invite 2 of them to have coffee with me. You know, all of those old school things, right? Well, now you got to find new and different ways. So pick a skill. How are you connecting with your audience? And the good news is you build it, and I'm going to show some examples on the next slide. You build it once, you can never lose that skill. In the recession back in 2007, I started doing teleseminars. That was before Zoom, and I didn't really love Skype, so I did teleseminars, and I actually repurposed, repackaged that, and now I'm still selling that product to this day. And it is something that if whatever you can create now, you'll always have for the future. And that's what truly helped make me recession proof this time around. So how are you building your tribe? Is it going to be through a YouTube channel? Do you have a Facebook fan page? Some of this can actually be, you know, repurposed and spread around multiple different channels, because I have a YouTube channel and I actually stream. I use StreamYard and Zoom to stream live to my Facebook page, my Facebook stuff, and then I'll upload it into YouTube so it's there. Just like this call today, I'm going to upload it into YouTube for people to find later, and I'll share a couple different testimonials with that in a second. Do you want to blog? Blogging is also something that you can monetize. You can monetize a blog really well. It also gives you content to send out in your email campaign. So again, I'm always looking at efficient, effective ways as how can I take this one thing and repurpose it over all these different channels. Ebook, that's also known as lead magnets. Do you have like your top 5 tips on how to sell a house faster during COVID if you were a real estate agent, for example? Those are different ways also to be found. I had one of my clients, he became an Amazon bestseller. He was found through that. He just did a speaking engagement for 70 colleges last week because he had built an audience through his book. I had another client who was really against email marketing. And he did have, though, a YouTube channel. He started taking his YouTube channel stuff, emailing it out to his email campaign. Now he's embraced email campaigns, and during that process, I believe that everything happens because energy attracts speed and momentum. So he was putting things out, he was giving value, and someone found his YouTube channel as a result, and he got an all expense paid trip for a 4-day retreat in the Maldives. And he actually got paid on top of that very handily because he was putting out content, he was sharing it, he was giving value, and he had this huge opportunity land into his lap. There's different ways, affiliate programs. I have an affiliate program, people can sign up, get paid for their referrals. Is that something you could do that could help you pivot and get more exposure out there, build your tribe much bigger, much faster? Do you want to launch a podcast? I was fortunate that I actually found one of my coaches through his podcast, and it got me thinking. I'm like, you know what? That's really brilliant. And I saw him repurposing it on Facebook. I saw him putting it into the podcast channel. I saw him sometimes emailing out the content. And that's actually why I hired him, because I was like, this guy is sharp and I might want to start a podcast someday. And guess what? Here I am 1 year later, totally scared the crap out of me to do it, but I did it. And I've had people hire me after hearing my podcast. So that could be something you could do. And of course, getting involved in your LinkedIn. I know I met some of you through LinkedIn. Do you have an Instagram? What is I call it your sandbox that you're going to play in, that's going to be your focus. You can't be a jack of all trades, in my opinion. You can't be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. I think that's exhausting. It's being spread too thin. I would encourage you to pick one or two. So for me, it's Facebook and LinkedIn. And to be honest, since the whole pivot, I used to get 90% of my business offline. Now 90% of my business comes from online, and most of it is through Facebook, LinkedIn. No ads. I don't spend money on advertising. I'm not an expert on that, so I can coach you on that. But I've seen a lot of people lose money that way. So being able to organically grow those relationships over time. I also have a Facebook community. I'm going to share that with you guys if you're into Facebook. That's ways that people can watch you. And I've had people hire me just from consuming content from Facebook or my YouTube channel. Again, what can you do to attract your tribe? And if you have landing pages, just like I had a landing page for people to register for this webinar, I have landing pages for my podcast. I have landing pages for events. I have a blog. All of those things are out there. They're like digital business cards. So I would encourage you also to look into getting landing pages where you can put those information out there and people find it, and then they study you, and then they could be calling you saying, hey, I really like what you got going on there. I'd like to learn more about what you do. Then, of course, step number 4, and again, we have 5 tips, so we're getting close to the end here, guys. So if you have questions, I will take open Q&A here in about the next 10 minutes. The next step is having a massive action follow-up plan. We talked about your mindset. We talked about executing and building relationships. We talked about building that audience, but guess what? That's all good, but if you don't have a follow-up plan, you won't make any money. You won't get to where you want to go. So how are you following up? How are you building that credibility? Do you have a client relationship manager that's working for you and that you're going into every day and it's telling you who you need to follow up with? Or maybe you use Excel spreadsheets. I recommend, I'm actually an affiliate for something called Now Site Marketing that helps remind me to follow up with people. It sends out my email campaigns. It has landing pages. It does all of the things. Do you have a system? Is it MailChimp? Is it Constant Contact? Do you use ACT? There's a lot of different systems out there, but I also see a lot of people who get frustrated because they're not getting the results that they say they want. And you have to have all of those things right now in order to follow up with excellence and stay in front of people. Part of what I call my signature, this is one of my secret sauces that I use and I share and I coach with clients, is the 8x8 time compression follow-up plan that will do one of two things. Number one, it's going to get you a client. It's been proven, sales statistics, most sales happen on the 5th to 12th contact. How do you stay in touch? How do you stay visible? How do you stay credible? And do you have a plan that's duplicatable? Do you follow up with every single person the same way? And granted, I'm not perfect. I don't follow up with everyone with phone calls and emails exactly like this example anymore. I now have a welcome campaign in my email system. A lot of you probably will experience that because of signing up this webinar. I have a plan in place to follow up with certain people on LinkedIn, a plan in place to send out my landing pages, a plan to get people into my Facebook community. And by the time they get all of these touches, they're either going to buy from me, or, in my opinion, even better than a sale, they become a huge fan. They don't have to even become an affiliate to be a referral partner. So that's always my mindset that has helped me build a massive network since the Great Recession, and what I believe prepared me for this year. I was ready because I had a massive network. I had raving fans who were willing to refer to me. I've done joint venture webinars that brought in $8,000 for me and my partner. So there's all these different ways to touch people. Do you have a duplicatable plan that you just rinse and repeat? So I encourage you, if nothing else out of today, this might be the golden nugget that you needed to be consistent. It saves you a ton of time because you already know, hey, this is my same plan for every single person I meet on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, wherever you're meeting people. Looks like we got someone else jumping in here. Okay. So this is an example, and you can take screenshots. Probably should have said that, but you'll get the recording of this, so you can go through if you want to take screenshots of any of this stuff. And then obviously at the end, I'll also share with you how you can learn more about how to implement this. But this is my massive action plan. I call it the Kofi Sales Follow-Up Formula. And then, of course, the last thing, we all have 24 hours in the day, right? How you choose to spend your time, and this is why I shared with you transparently earlier, I was spread way too thin for so long. I felt like I was a human doing more than a human being. And thanks to the 12-week year and working with coaches who keep me honest, I really, really am a huge fan of being a master steward of my time and energy, and being efficient and being true to myself has actually attracted way more abundance into my life this year. So if a lot of times people, if they go into scarcity mode because sales are down, COVID has really hit their business hard. The first thing, at least I did this, after the Great Recession, I really struggled with workaholism because I thought I had to work more, do more, talk to more people. But once I really came from a place of abundance and I studied the 12-week year principles. So if you haven't read that book, please, by now, hopefully I've piqued your interest. I'm a certified trainer in it. I use it with all my clients and my courses and stuff, but go read it. My life has changed when I read it. I did it 2 back-to-back 12-week years, which is 2 quarters. I got way more done in those 6 months than I felt like I had those previous 6 years, and that was since the Great Recession. So through that process, I created systems that I share with my clients. I call it my daily compass and guide. That's the document. If anybody wants to, I can email it to you. Just shoot me an email and I'll send you. But this is the document that I created that I write down my SMART goals every day. I streamline and pick 2 personal, 2 professional goals. I write out my day before I go out and, create the day. And then I have what I call my model work week. Even if, times are tough, whatever has happened, I always believe in blocking out my spiritual time, my physical time, my prospecting time, my follow-up time, all the things that we've talked to up until this moment. No matter if it was like the sky was falling, I was still following that schedule because that's what kept me sane. That's what helped give me structure and eventually predictability and income opportunities. And I believe when we respect the time that we've been given, we're given more. You know, to whom much is given, much is required. So if you really respect the time that you've been given, more abundance can come into your life. So set a goal. How many hours will you work per day or per week? And of course, part of that master steward of energy and time, based on everything we talked about today, set some time aside to learn one new skill. You know, there's so many different courses and so many different things you can sign up for, but then you're just signing up for more distraction, right? Focus on one thing per quarter, per 12-week year, if you want to call it that, and you're going to be surprised at how much. I set a goal to launch a podcast. I helped a client actually launch a podcast, and he was really kind of scared about spending the money on doing that, but he focused on it for about a 6 to 8 week period. His income has more than tripled in that short period of time because he focused on that one thing over a short period of time, and he started to master it. And I believe he got rewarded for doing more with less. So this is just a quote. I actually don't have the webinar. I forgot to take that out. I did a webinar with Brian Moran, the 12-week year author. He's one of my mentors and certified me to utilize his systems and tools with my clients. So that was actually last month. I forgot to remove that from the slides. This is another testimonial I didn't get a chance to share. One of my favorite stories this year, I helped someone pivot in a big, big way. Her name is Kathy Barrow, and she's a musician and a travel agent. Well, in March, her orchestra got shut down. She's maybe been there once since then. And her travel business, of course, just completely was shattered for a few months. And so she was beside herself, and I worked with her, helped her start a new business and a new stream of income as a virtual assistant because she was pretty savvy with Facebook. And I was like, hey, well, have you ever thought about this? And before you know it, she learned a lot. She started streamlining her time, all the things we talked about today, and she's nearly tripled, it might be tripled by now, her income since COVID, because she wasn't a victim of her circumstances. She hired me, she pivoted well, and she's actually been doing better and better every month the further we get along. Another one of my success stories is Kathy. She actually just closed on her first home ever in her entire life. She just, because of the success we've had this year working together, her businesses has thrived, and she's been able to go out and fulfill one of her other 12-week goals that she set a year ago, was to buy her own home. And it scared her, it terrified her, and she was like, I don't even know if this is reasonable. And she's now fulfilled that dream, and I'm so excited for her because she pivoted well with all of these principles I talked about today. Tammy Bragg, she just did a course with me. She's a brand new coach. I do work with a lot of coaches and trainers and speakers and podcasters because they're all building tribes just like me. And she was able to do a lot here in a short period of time in getting her coaching business off the ground in this new normal of not meeting face-to-face, belly-to-belly, with these tactics that I shared with you guys today. So really quickly, I just want to close, then I want to open it up for Q&A. If you saw value in what I shared with you today and you want to keep it going a little bit further, I do have a monthly group online coaching program that I started thanks to COVID. Just $97 a month. It's basically all of the things we talked about today, only week after week, month after month. And I don't do contracts. I don't believe in them. You know, and it can be a spouse or a business partner. You can get 2 people for the price of 1 upon approval. I gotta talk to them, but you get 3 hours a month of coaching and group coaching online. It's through Facebook. We talk about, again, the mindset of a sales champion, building your 8x8 campaign, managing your time with the 12-week year principles, building an audience, how to do Zoom, StreamYard, YouTube, all of the things. Of course, helping you finish 2020 maybe stronger than you started. Getting that vision going for 2021 and making next year your best year ever. And of course, you get to network with like-minded people. Right now, there's about 30 people in the program because I just started it a few months back. And it also included basically a free one-on-one coaching session that's valued at $500. And then this Saturday, I'm doing a specific how to build an email list through your audience, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through YouTube, rolling up our sleeves and doing a workshop. It's $27 for the workshop, or if you sign up for the $97 a month coaching program, you actually get this course for free. So with that, without further ado, does anybody have any questions, any comments? Or I'd love to know your golden nugget that you're going to take with you and take action on today. Yeah, right. Thanks, Latara. Yeah, I was living in Phoenix and I rose from the ashes from Phoenix. So I do, that is a little hidden joke in there. Any questions on anything? I know I turned the fire hose on you guys. I covered a lot, but it's just actually scratching the surface of everything that I've learned in the last 13 years. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The 8x8 has been a game changer for me for all sorts of different things, for sure. It's the best way to build those relationships and get those referrals and close more sales in less time. And the cool thing about it is once you set it up, you just rinse and repeat and test and make changes along the way. Thanks, Latara. No questions? If we don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and close it out with a motivational quote. That's you know what, only you can define that. Harumi asked, I hear all the time about massive action. Well, I shared with you some of the things I do. I have, my daily compass every day. I have actionable items that I put on it, like the 5 phone calls, the 5 Facebook connections, the 5 LinkedIn connections. I have my email campaign writing time. I have my follow-up time. I'm all about time blocking, and lead generation and prospecting is part of my massive action every single day. And then, it sort of evolves and changes depending on what I have going on. Each week is a little bit different. Like last week I had that course, you were in that course, Harumi. So I was laser beam focused on that. And so the time frame is, each month, that's why I talk about the 12-week year. I schedule out my 12 weeks. I work with my coach, right? So just being totally transparent, I couldn't be where I am today without one-on-one coaching. So I listen to my coach. They also help me with my massive action plans, and I'm always tweaking and testing. And I usually have a 30 to 60 day sales cycle. I have a strategy action plan. So that's my massive action. You have to come up with your own plan, and whether you're working with Eric or if you ever work with me, I do help my clients put together their action plans, and of course their 8x8s and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to find your right coach and timeline and activity and measurables. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and feel free if there's any last questions. I'd love to see you. I will share the Facebook community in here. I'll share the information too about the list build workshop this Saturday. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then my favorite quote from Eleanor Roosevelt is, of course, do one thing every day that scares you. That in and of itself is a whole nother conversation, but that's also what helped me rise from the ashes, of that last recession. And even this year, amidst, losing my mom, losing my brother. My husband was out of work for a while. All of the things, it was all about expanding my comfort zone, looking to help other people and expanding myself is what helped me grow my income like never before. So take that quote to heart. It really is something, being stretching yourself outside your comfort zone. It's when you're comfortable, I think, like I was comfortable just before the Great Recession, right? It's when we're comfortable that you should almost be a little bit worried, right? Because that just means that anything could come your way and change that level of comfort. So I'm going to go ahead and here's the link to this Saturday's workshop. And then I'll also let me quickly do this. And I will again send you an email recording. And I wanted to do one more thing. For those of you who are on Facebook, and I know a couple of you already are inside of this group, but if you haven't had the opportunity, I would love to welcome you into my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast Facebook community so you can get more free knowledge, free nuggets, free wisdom. With the chart, no, I don't share the slides on these free webinars. I do if you're in one of my paid courses. That's where you can go, and if you want to look at the slides again, just take screenshots. Yeah, so only those in my $97 a month program, they get copies of these slides, and they're inside the private Facebook group for that community. So I did go ahead and drop the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast community Facebook link. Thanks again, guys, for taking your time to be here. I want to honor that. It's not been quite an hour, but until next time, here's to your best health, your best wealth, your best wisdom. Have a great day. Nice to meet you, Jane. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, Miles. Hopefully we'll see you again. Bye-bye for now.